So are there specific groups that are close to your heart or that you help found or bring together that you want to share with people? So if there's some women veterans out there that want to know about some resources.
Yeah. So my thing personally as a veteran is you got to have your people, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of safe space for one to go to. And for me, it's my American Legion Post. I go there every Friday. I volunteer. We put programs and services together. And we have people. We have a couple of Korean War veterans there. We obviously have some Vietnam veterans there, Afghan, Iraq veterans there. And it really is an opportunity for all veterans to get together, to kind of commune. But really, with my female veterans, we know that it's kind of our safe space with each other, and we can have conversations about, things that you wouldn't normally maybe have conversations with. So if somebody doesn't know where to go and they're out there struggling and saying, what is my first step? Sometimes the VA is the hardest place for veterans to go to, female or male. It's hard for someone to take that first step into the actual VA. And there's a lot of different reasons and issues for that. But if you can find something more close, more neighborly, that's an easier kind of segue into making sure you are able to get your benefits and services, but also be able to identify services that you may need personally, whether you are unemployed, underemployed, homeless, huge homeless problem for women veterans, childcare, issues for women veterans, healthcare issues for women veterans. So being able to have conversations in that space with other women veterans can pinpoint you to services if you're not willing to take kind of the big leap to go to the VA.
Wow, that's incredible. I wouldn't even think about homelessness we see it, but we don't kind of recognize the effect of it and the fight that, women's veterans, once they kind of retire from the military, what they're going to be faced with afterwards. And it's, very interesting because, the Hello Girls, they fought for 50, 60 years to get even their veteran status. And it wasn't until last year in 2024 that they actually got the Hello Girls Congressional Medal for their work. And it's crazy. None of them, that's really for their grandchildren to do. What are women now who are veteran and in the military, what are they fighting for specifically now that you're helping them fight for? And what are some of the needs out there that we should know about?
Well, it really hasn't changed significantly, which is unfortunate. And while we make some strides, I would say, again, homelessness is a huge issue. Women veterans probably have a higher mental health challenges, higher rates than men do. And so when you're talking about PTSD, anxiety, depression, military sexual trauma, all of that affects your life when you get outside of the military. And so that could impede you from being able to hold down a job. You may be more apt to be a single parent. So then there's childcare issues, and then there could be financial barriers, especially with the transition with whatever your military job was compared to your civilian job. So I was a cook in the military. I could probably be a cook, out in the civilian world. If you were working on an aircraft carrier, or you're working on a plane, that may not be transferable in a one-to-one way. And it's hard in some cases for women to find the segue from military to civilian life. And then healthcare issues, obviously gender-specific issues, whether it's reproductive health. You want to go to see a woman doctor and talk about women issues, and that really might not be prevalent. There might not be specialists available in a timely way for you to be able to go see, because again, it was always a male-centric dominated armed forces. And so those are really challenging, and we still are working through them. So even though we made great strides, a woman veteran today could be on the street homeless today. They could have food insecurity today. They could have challenges with healthcare that they need because of reproductive, health that they need, maternity care, that they may need help with. job transition services and really mental health services, especially if they have been a victim of sexual trauma in the military.
So, I'm hearing I've heard this before. It's easy to be recruited. It's harder to be decruited back into civilian life, right? And the systems in place to return back to civilian life are not as systematized as they are as to be recruited
Correct.
into the military. And yet, I think it's still something that women are attracted to.
Yeah.
They want to still serve.
People want to be, I think generally people want to belong to something. They want to be a part of something, be part of something bigger, to be helpful. And the military is all of those things. As I said, foundationally, you're getting good structure, discipline. You see in, what was it, the 4 6s movie as well with the Hello Girls. There's things we do great,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that women can be able to bring and have always brought. But there's challenges, too. And I think that we just need to keep talking about it, making sure that there's resources available, money, dollars, resources available, being sensitive, to these issues. But in a story, I was just making mention to one of my staff, and I've said it repeatedly. And it was one Thanksgiving that my family, my husband and son and I went to go serve meals for veterans that were homeless on Thanksgiving. I think my son was, I don't know, like 10 or something. And he didn't really want to go, and it's Thanksgiving. You want to be at home. You want to have your own food, all this stuff. And so it's like, we have to go. It's for veterans. We're, celebrating them and on veterans on Thanksgiving. And he said, out of the mouth of babes, he says, if they're veterans, why are they homeless? Mm-hmm. What is my answer to that? And we've just had long conversations. This was the theme of the State Fair Armed Services Day this past year's Thank You for Your Service. It's more than just saying thank you for your service. It is actually helping veterans in need. And that transition is no joke. I served for 3 years and thinking, when I got out, you go through the training and the process, and you're a unit, you're together. You're not Pam anymore. Your last name is who you are because you're part of the group. Then all of a sudden the doors are open and you're back into the world and you're Pam again. It took me a long time when people would call my name and I would not answer because no one called me Pam for 3 years. You were always called by your last name. And so now all of a sudden you're back and something so simple as Pamela, and you're like, oh, you're talking to me, because that's not who you are for all of those years.
Wow. So it's a total identity shift.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if we think about it that way, how do we want veterans to identify themselves? Because we're very clear, again, what it looks like when you're in.
Yeah.
And how can we give a different identity as a beyond, like what you say, the thank you for your service, of really recognizing who this different identity is. It's like 2 identities. You have your civilian identity, but you always carry with you your military history.
Right, and it's something you carry with you forever. Just like I went to X college, or I'm in XYZ fraternity or sorority, that's with you, for life. You're a veteran for life. That camaraderie is there with you for life. And you shouldn't have to straddle, today I'm a veteran, tomorrow I'm a woman. Today I'm, a soldier, tomorrow I'm a mom. You're all of those things. You don't have to just be one and then change the hat and turn it off. I think that's what's so great about it, is that you're just kind of like this fully embodied, being with all of these great attributes, and you just happen to be a woman who happens to be a soldier, a veteran, and all of those things are great. But just like with anything, there will always be challenges.
I also feel, though, that women have produced a lot of really great, they've brought a lot to the armed forces as well. So we got to also recognize their accomplishment within the armed forces and within civilian life. I mean, we have you as our assembly member, so I'm going to thank, the armed forces for that. So I'm very grateful for that. But also, being able, I see your work and you fight for your community.
Yeah.
And you maintain that work of, hey, it's almost like translating. It's no longer necessarily in the military, but now you're fighting for people in our community.
Yeah. I think it's a natural transition. I do have conversations every year, a couple times a year. They have a program up at SU where they have a robust curriculum for veterans and also veterans who are interested in entering politics. And I always have kind of that straight no chaser conversation. There's some people who are, I think I might want to, compared to I'm running now, and what that looks like. Because while we're having this conversation today, and while, Veterans Day is coming up soon, and we saw the 4-6s and now the Hello Girls, and I'm sure there will be many, many more women who have not been acknowledged or recognized, for their service, which is bad and will continue to have to be honed in. We have to make sure that we continue, to fight for that. But I think that there is a natural transition for community service, that you are a servant of the community, whether you are in the military serving and in this capacity that I'm in now, because you understand people have needs and you're fighting them. Maybe not with a gun out in, the universe on the battlefield, but your gun may be the pen now, right? And signing legislation or crafting legislation that's going to be most helpful for the constituency that we serve.
I think for us, it's definitely in storytelling. Finding the stories of these women, I think it was one of the ways the writers of the show saw a snippet within a documentary and said, wait a minute, there's a story there that's untold that people don't know about, and we have to tell this story. It's an important story to tell. It's been many years in the making. I'm really excited that we get to do it here in Syracuse, because Syracuse means a lot. And with the hope that it'll continue growing throughout the rest of the country. And I think that telling specific people's stories is so important, because until you hear their story and until you hear their struggles, you can't really map yourself. Otherwise, it's like military as a signpost, as opposed to, wait a minute, this was somebody's journey, which can be both an inspiration, it can be a learning curve. There's just so much that I think that can be gained through the storytelling process.
It can be cathartic and helpful for folks too. If you hear from someone who maybe went through something that you went through, it would maybe easier for you to open up and tell your own story, knowing that other people are kind of taking that courageous step to tell their story.
So where is your story now?
Well, my story continues, right? The book is still open, not closed yet, and we're going to keep fighting and advocating for women veterans until, everyone gets the acknowledgement, right, that they deserve, and that they're leading great, productive lives outside of the military without some of the challenges that I mentioned. We have lots of work to do, and I'm here to continue to do that.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much for all the work that you're doing, and I think it's really fantastic that you're able to kind of connect all the resources, find the resources. I think that's the hardest thing. People don't know what's really out there
Correct.
for them. I think that's why we're continuing to making podcasts and plays and, anything that we can do. Vendor fairs, like you said, at the state fair. It's just so important that the outreach is there, because there is somebody out there maybe listening right now saying, oh, wait a minute, I didn't even know that was
Correct.
even available for me.
Right.
And I just want to let them know, how would they get in touch with you? How would they find out about your services?
Well, we have a very robust social media presence. So you could start, with Facebook and find us on TikTok and Snapchat and YouTube and Instagram. But if you just want to get started and say, I don't know where to find you, you can go to the New York State Assembly website, type in my name, and that gets you to where I am, how I serve, lots of background information. Also, you can get our phone number and email and contact information, get on our newsletter we send out once every month. We have over 10,000 individual email addresses we send to every month. So it has been my mission as an Assembly member and with my great staff to get to as many people as possible, as being as helpful as possible with the program and services possible, resources possible, to uplift the community as best we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think that's our show. I don't know what else to say. This is so fantastic. This has been
We did it.
an honor to hang out with you. And I have to say that when I first arrived here in Syracuse, you were the first person to send me a letter of welcome. And I have kept that letter on my desk. It means so much to me that, you know, I came here, I didn't know anybody, and I get this random letter, and I said, who is this fabulous person that just said welcome to me? So I want to just acknowledge you and just what a wonderful human being you are.
Thank you.
And so that's it for today's show. Thanks to our guest, Assemblymember Pamela Hunter. The Hello Girls runs at Syracuse Stage September 9th through the 28th. Tickets are available at syracusestage.org. And Syracuse OnStage is produced in partnership with WCNY with original music composed by Luther Masanto.